कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर का कॉन्सेप्ट MEC 01 इग्नू के लिए इतना इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि अगर आपने इसको समझ लिया तो कई लॉन्ग आंसर क्वेश्चन आसानी से लिख पाएंगे। तो कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर का ये थ्योरी समझ लो, इग्नू MEC 01 का पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो जाएगा। आइए देखते हैं यूटिलिटी, इंडिफरेंस कर्व और कंज्यूमर इक्विलिब्रियम को एक ही वीडियो में। सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं कि कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर रेफर्स टू द वे the consumers make decisions regarding the purchase, consumption, and saving of goods and services. So it explains how individual or household allocates limited resources among alternative goods and services to maximize satisfaction. In economics, consumer behavior is mainly analyzed through the concept of utility, preference, income, prices, and trends. So we are going to look all the 5 points. So major determinants of consumer behavior are income of the consumer, because increase in income increases the demand for formal goods, normal goods, and while the demand for inferior goods may decline. When income rises, prices of goods according to law of demand, other things remaining same, an increase in the price generally reduces the quantity demanded. Consumer preference and taste like fashion, habits, culture, lifestyle, etc., influence the consumption decisions. Next is the price of related good also affect the demand. The demand for commodity depends on the prices of substitutes and complements. For example, an increase in price of tea may increase the demand for coffee because they both are substitutes. Expectation about the future: if consumers expect prices to rise in future, they may increase the present consumption or start hoarding also. Wealth and assets: consumers possessing greater wealth may have higher capacity to spend. Demographic factors: age, family size, occupation, household composition influence the consumption patterns. Social and cultural factors also influence the consumption according to social status, customs, peer groups, pressure, and advertising. So consumer behavior is not determined by income and price alone. Economic, social, psychological, cultural factors also affect. So now we discuss cardinal utility approach to consumer behavior. Cardinal utility approach is associated with the economist Alfred Marshall, who assumes that utility or satisfaction derived from commodities can be measured numerically. The consumer is assumed to be rational and attempts to maximize total satisfaction subject to a limited income. So, important concepts of cardinal utility are total utility. It is the total satisfaction obtained from consuming all units of a commodity. Marginal utility is thus additional satisfaction obtained from consuming one additional unit. Marginal utility is equal to TU by delta Q, where TU is the delta is change and TU is the total utility and Q is the quantity. Law of diminishing marginal utility says that as consumption of successive units of commodity increases, marginal utility tends to decline. Assuming other factors like taste, preference, income remaining constant. For example, units of chocolate. Utility of the unit table shows that additional satisfaction declines as we use more units or successive consumption. Consumer equilibrium: according to Cardinal approach, a consumer reaches equilibrium where the marginal utility obtained from last rupee spent on different commodity is equal. For two commodities X and Y, consumer will be equilibrium where marginal utility of X MUX is marginal utility of X, MUY is the marginal utility of Y, PX is price of X, and PY is the price of Y. But there is limitation of this law. Utility cannot be realistically measured in exact numerical units. The assumption of constant marginal utility of money is unrealistic. Consumer preference may not always be consistent, and psychological and social influences are not adequately incorporated. So cardinal utility approach provided an important foundation for consumer theory, but modern economists larger largely prefer to the ordinal utility approach, which is given by Hicks. So, ordinal utility approach of consumer behavior is discussed with the help of indifference curve. The ordinal utility approach was developed by economists Hicks and Elm. It argues that utility cannot be measured quantitatively. Instead, consumers can rank different combinations of goods according to their preference. So the central analytical tool of this approach is an indifference curve. An indifference curve represents different combinations of two goods that provide consumer with the same level of satisfaction. For example, a consumer may be equally satisfied with 2 units of X and 10 units of Y, or 3 units of X and 7 units of Y, or 4 units of X and 5 units of Y. So properties of indifference curve are downward sloping. First, if consumer obtains more of one commodity while maintaining same satisfaction, they must sacrifice some quantity of the other commodity. Second is convex to origin. This reflects the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Third is higher indifference curve represent higher satisfaction. In an indifference curve, farther more from the origin generally represent higher level of satisfaction. Fourth is two indifference curves cannot intersect. Intersection would create a logical inconsistency in consumer preference. It is shown in the diagram. Budget constraint. The consumer choices are restricted by income and prices. So it is given as price of X into X plus price of Y into Y is equal to M. Price Cx and Py, prices of X and Y are quantities consumed. M is the consumer's equilibrium. Consumer equilibrium is at the point where the highest attainable indifference curve is tangent to the budget line. It is also shown in the diagram. The equilibrium condition is MRS XY is equal to PX. The ordinal approach is considered more realistic because it does not require utility to be measured in numerical units. It explains consumers' choice through preference, trade-offs, and income and prices. Now, income effect and substitution effect of change in a price. A change in price of a commodity affects consumer behavior through major channels. First is substitution effect, second is income effect. Substitution effect, when the price of a commodity changes, the price relative to other commodities changes. Consumers tend to substitute the relatively cheaper commodity for the relatively expensive one. For example, if the price of tea falls, the price of coffee remains unchanged. Consumers may substitute tea for coffee. Income effect, a change in price changes the income of the consumer in the real purchasing power, in the sense of real purchasing power. If the price of a commodity falls, the consumer can purchase the same bundle with less money. Therefore, real income increases. If the price rises, real purchasing power decreases. So, combined price effect is equal to substitution. Price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect. For a normal good, both effects generally reinforce each other when prices fall. For an inferior good, the income effect works opposite direction to the substitution effect. In the usual case of given good, the negative income effect can be sufficiently strong to overweigh the substitution effect. So the distinction between income and substitution effect is essential for understanding how consumers respond to change in prices. It also provides theoretical foundation for deriving demand curve. Now, revealed preference theory of consumer behavior. It is also a part of consumer behavior. Revealed preference theory developed by Paul Samuelson attempts to explain consumer behavior without directly measuring utility. The basic idea is that a consumer preference can be understood from their actual choices. If a consumer chooses a bundle A when bundle B is also affordable, then A is said to be revealed preferred to B. So, main assumption of this theory is that consumer is rational, has consistent preference, consumer chooses the most preferred and affordable bundle. Preference satisfy the principle of consistency. So example, suppose a consumer has rupees 500 and can afford either a bundle A of 2 kg rice and 1 kg pulses, or bundle B 1 kg rice plus 2 kg pulses. If both bundles are affordable but consumer chooses A, then A is revealed preferred to B. If the latter, the same consumer chooses B, A is also affordable, it creates problem of consistency. So the revealed preference approach avoids need to measure utility, focuses on observable consumer choices, provides a behavioral foundation for demand theory, helps to analyze consumer rationality. So consumer limitation is there. Consumers' decision may be influenced by advertising habits, uncertainty, social pressure, imperfect information. Therefore, actual choices do not always perfectly reveal underlying preferences. So, revealed preference theory represents important development in consumer theory because it shifts attention from unobservable utility to observable utility. So, अगर आप एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड हैं इस वीडियो को सेव कर लीजिए और कमेंट में लिखिए मोर सो दैट आई कैन गिव यू मोर सच वीडियोस. So please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.